It's live.
Good evening, everybody. We're here for a public meeting. So I'd like to call this public meeting to order, and I'll give you a brief introduction of the first application. So first up, we have a zoning bylaw amendment application that's been submitted by JP2G Consultants Incorporated on behalf of Harlan Silke and Lise Leverrier Silke. The county approved a consent application B-150/23 for the severance of these lands on May 29th, 2024 on condition that the lands be rezoned. The approval of this zoning bylaw amendment will fulfill condition 2 of the consent approval. Are you coming to the mic? Yeah. Okay. So first, I'd like to request our planner, Melanie, to confirm notice of public meeting. Thanks, Melanie.
Notice has been provided as required under the Planning Act.
Thank you. And can you advise if there have been any written comments received regarding the application?
Responses were received from Enbridge Gas and the Renfrew County Joint Transportation Consortium, with neither having an objection to the amendment. No other written comments were received.
Thank you. And now if you could briefly explain the purpose of the amendment.
The subject property is located at 2883 and 2889 Petawawa Boulevard and is approximately 1.63 acres in area. It's shown on the screen. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone one part of the subject lands, 2889 Petawawa Boulevard, which is the yellow polygon on the screen, from commercial to commercial exception 17. There's an existing professional office on this portion, an optometrist office, and the exception is required to reduce the minimum lot frontage and side yard setback. The other portion at 2883 Petawawa Boulevard, shown in green on the screen, is being rezoned from commercial to residential 1 to recognize the existing residential use on that parcel. And both dwelling and commercial unit each have their own septic systems. The effect of the amendment is to allow for the newly severed lots to comply with zoning and then be conveyed separately.
Thank you. And if the applicant is present, do they wish to make any opening comments to explain or support their application?
Catherine Curry from JP2G is present and available. Catherine, I'm not sure if you want to make any comments.
I'm available if you have any questions.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Are there any questions from, I guess I have to wait till after the questions from council. I can ask them then. Colin? Probably first.
It comes a bit later, yeah.
We'll do all the questions later. Okay. Can you please explain the appeal process?
There is a 20-day appeal period for this application. However, there have been recent changes to the Planning Act through Bill 185 that's altered appeal rights. So only individuals identified in the Planning Act can file an appeal. These include the applicant, what the Planning Act calls a specified person who, before the bylaw is passed, makes oral submissions at this meeting or written submissions to council. Specified people, if you look at the definition of the Planning Act, can be public and private corporations and utility companies, that kind of telecommunications, Trans-Canada Pipeline, that kind of body. Another person that can appeal is a public body that, before the bylaw was passed, made oral submissions at this public meeting or written submissions to council. The registered owner of any land to which the bylaw would apply can appeal if they make oral submissions at this public meeting or written submissions to council, and the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So those are the only people that can actually appeal a decision of council. Any other person who wishes to speak to this application, although they don't have a right to appeal, they can provide information for council to consider prior to making their decision as to whether to pass the proposed amendment. One additional note for this Silke application is that the official plan for the town of Petawawa must be in effect before the zoning amendment can come into full force and effect. The new official plan was approved by the county on October 1st, August 1st, with August 21st as the last day of appeal.
Thanks, Melanie. And perhaps for all of the audience here and the thousands of viewers at home, perhaps you could explain why there are these new rules due to the new government legislation. Just very briefly.
So basically, the provincial government is trying to streamline the planning act processes, and throughout the last several bills have been slowly narrowing the list of people that can appeal planning applications. So it's a bit of a transfer of responsibility to councils as well, to take into consideration the comments from people outside of these prescribed lists before they make their decision.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, at this point, I'll ask anybody in the audience if they have any questions or comments, they can come forward to the mic. Just state your name and ask your question or give your comment. Everybody's good? Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Okay, I guess we're good. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Catherine. I'll now declare the public meeting closed. Okay, we have a second public meeting. So I'll declare the second public, do I have to declare the second public meeting open? I shall declare it open. And I'll give a brief introduction here. This is a zoning bylaw amendment application, has been submitted by Miss Judy DeGear to rezone the lands from environmental protection to residential 1 with site-specific provisions. If approved, the rezoning will permit the construction of a single detached dwelling and accessory structures. Melanie, can you please confirm the notice of public meeting?
Notice was provided as required under the planning act.
Thank you. And could you advise if there have been any written comments received regarding the application?
Enbridge Gas responded with no objection and no other written comments have been received.
Thank you. And now if you could briefly explain the purpose of the amendment.
The subject lands are an irregularly shaped parcel and part of lots 6 and 7 Lake Range. The property is accessed by South Shore Drive, but also has frontage along Odyssey Road and the Ottawa River. The property is approximately 28 acres in area. The purpose of the amendment is to rezone a portion of the subject lands to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling and accessory structures. An environmental impact study was submitted in support of the application as required by the official plan. The study concludes that the proposed development would not adversely impact or be adversely impacted by natural features and flood hazards in the area. The study recommends several mitigation measures to prevent erosion, sedimentation, and to protect vegetation in the water setback from the river. The effect of the amendment would be to rezone the developable portion of the subject property, so not the entire property, just a section of the property, from environmental protection to residential 1 at section 57. The area to be rezoned includes the driveway from South Shore Drive as well as the building footprint. So the yellow polygon on the screen, but definitely the footprint to be developed is much smaller than even the yellow. The proposed exception zone will include site-specific provisions that reiterate the zoning bylaws, Ottawa River floodplain and water setback provisions. If the amendment is approved, the landowner and the town will enter into a development agreement to ensure recommendations from the environmental impact study are implemented and run with the land through the agreement.
Thank you, Melanie. And if the applicant is present and available to address any comments or questions, they can come forward now and make any comments.
I was expecting the applicant, but I do not see them here.
Okay. Can you please explain the appeal process?
So the appeal process is the same as I explained a minute ago. So there's only certain people prescribed under the Planning Act that may appeal this application. Any other person who wishes to speak to it has to do so at this meeting or have provided written comments in advance.
Thank you. I'll now ask if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to comment or has any questions. You may come forward to the microphone and just state your name and your question or comment.
My name is Bernd Krute, Krute, Canadian Bernie, and I live direct here. Actually here where the surrounding is. And I just want to know if everybody of you knows the map of the Petawawa on the area. Since decades, says in wetland. And wetland is protected with a new law by Ontario, and it's a new law which want to protect wetland and even recover wetland. And so I don't know if you guys all know that. Then the other thing is, I got the feeling some of the people they live there on the spot, they received not even a letter. How come? That's a little bit strange. Especially Richard, UK, and he, through my son-in-law, was knowing this today, that there's something is going on. Then I got the other question, what means number 6 and 7? There is 6 and there is 7. And what they got in mind? Which number has the property where they want to build a house, but they did already without permission? You know that you can not even build a concrete piece of concrete there to build a house or a basement. So they did already. So how come?
Okay, do you want to handle question 1 first? Do them in order?
Okay, well, I can confirm we did send letters to every property owner within 60 meters of the subject property from the assessment roll. That's where we get our mailing list from. And the property owner does have a conditional permit to do just the footing on the property.
Already in
In
place.
wetland.
And as far as the wetland, we are following the policies in the official plan that conform with the provincial guidelines on development in areas such as this, which is requiring the environmental impact study.
Then just a question, you know how many animals are there?
Animals?
Yeah. And how many animals are there? Not only beaver or deer or other. We have even on this property a black snake. What kind of snake is it? This snake is even protected. And I don't know if you know that. We have not even a gardener snake. This is, right? I just take him and put him somewhere else. Then the other thing is, I pay since decades now. I lived there roughly 27 years there. And I pay my tax, and the tax goes up and up and up. And I cannot even use for my property at least 1 acre, especially in the spring, when the water comes in. Over my property goes the ditch where the water, which comes from the hill, even over the property which is on Radke, which is included in there. And the water runs over my property and is filling up even a piece of my forest. So I cannot even use it. And why I pay so much tax? Right? That's the other question.
Okay, so just to the question about do we know how many animals and wildlife are there? We were provided with an environmental study done by,
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the company, or if it was just the individual, Christie,
It was done by Ravenwood Environmental.
Ravenwood Environmental. And
I have,
just by reading that environmental study, they told us all the different species, whether there were species at risk and
yeah.
all those sorts of things. So we are aware of what.
It is, and it was even more. We don't have not so much beaver than before. I was calling in, not a hunter, a trapper, but I had 3 times problems with the beaver and we solved the problem. So we got even otter there. We got wolf, we got coyotes, we got fox, we got everything. So I cannot understand why this piece of, see, I came around in the world with it, in many countries. And I'm wondering, this planet is getting down the drain. And I'm not such a guy who wants to, until now, protect the nature like crazy, like those other guys. They go on and go on the street and fight for, right? But I see it clear. But we have on this piece of land good water. At my property, why I have so much water, probably I got the best water all around. The others, they have lots of problems. But you should see, you cannot actually do this and just give somebody a permit, build a house, and what is the next? On the other property, 4 or 5 houses, where Richard Cloutier lives, or even more, and then maybe even a road through, that's wetland. You have it in your map. I cannot understand that this should go this way.
Well, thank you very much for your comments.
And I think we should call in some guys from Toronto, from the main office. They look after this. I had even once a plan to get with my boat easier in the water, and I like to dig out on the shoreline a little bit. The guy from Toronto came even, but then I said, no, I don't do this. I don't want to make trouble, and that's it. No? So better we look after guys. They have more knowledge about this and decide then what to do.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah.
Unless you have any other questions?
What?
You're good? No more questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. But I'm not the only one.
Are there any other
Well-
members? Oh,
That's what you marked here is not the right spot here. That is not right. Yeah, that's totally different. What you have on the paper you were sending to us.
The notice of application just identifies the entire property. What's on the screen is the actual bylaw itself,
Oh,
which just shows the portion of the property that would be rezoned.
So just for clarity's sake, the letter that you would have received showed the entire property. The only piece that's being developed is what you see in yellow on the map. Nothing else.
See, I got this one here.
Hmm.
If you see this here is way different.
Mhm.
That's not right for this on here.
Yeah, so what you have in your letter is the entire 28 acre property,
Yeah.
but it's,
On which one is 6 or 7?
so this is lot 6, this is lot 7. But the portion in yellow that you see on the screen is just like the driveway from South Shore Drive up into this portion of lot 7 and somewhere in here where the residents would actually be
See,
built.
the other thing is the road into there with the circuit was really nice with asphalt and so on. Until semi trucks came in with big rocks, tons of rocks. And they destroyed the circle and the road too. So now you're on where my way in is here. You can see the circle is just here a little bit. Goes actually in the property of the guy who owns this now. Right? So here lives Richard. He received not even a letter. So I'm questioning what's going on here.
So you should have received a letter because we sent letters to everybody within 60 meters.
And then across from my son-in-law, they didn't receive a letter either. And they live here too. Here. That is the property where they live. And the road is really messed up now. And now the next trucks are coming in and do it even worse. I know for the road was paying short duty. I know I'm really good. I bought my property.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else in the audience that has questions or comments? Just come to the mic, state your name and fire away.
Hi, my name is Slavik Hailok. I'm living on 1419 Crescent. I just want to tell you guys that we tried to buy the property from Todd Klucher 7 years ago, but because was not zoning allowed, we backed it up. We just went to town and they say, we cannot build any houses, we cannot do any zoning on this property. That's why we back it up and we didn't buy the property. But the next person come buy the property and try to do zoning and try to build houses on the river, which already the shoreline is already screwed. He put so much rocks in there. Yeah, that's that. I just want to say, yeah, we tried to buy the property from the beginning, from South Klucher. That's everything.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come forward?
Sorry, I thought the meeting started.
That's okay.
It's okay if I come up, I'm not.
Colin, we can let the applicant come up. Yeah, come ahead. Just state your name and give us your comments.
Judy here. One of the owners, my husband's the other owner. We did do our due diligence before we bought the property. We came in, we saw Karen. There were certain restrictions put on the property. We acknowledged them, we did them. One of the restrictions was to have our driveway 1 meter above the high water mark. Even though River Drive is 0.5 meter above, we did that. We were under the understanding there was 3 locations we could build on that property. And we chose one of them. And yes, we brought rocks in, and I actually have a photo that I can pass around if anyone would like to see it, showing our rocks about 500 feet from the waterfront. So to suggest that we changed the waterfront is absurd. We have not changed the waterfront. We have several thousands of trees that we've left up. A lot of our neighbors have clear cut themselves right down to the waterfront. We do not do that. We respect our privacy. I'm not sure when the other,
Mr. Gear, if I can just stop you for a second.
Yeah.
Just make sure the whole time that you're speaking, that you're addressing the council. Thank you.
okay. I'm not sure how the other houses would have gotten built without cement trucks, but, I mean, we have all kinds of municipal communities, subdivisions, they all have cement trucks coming in to build homes, so I don't understand that on it. But I am here to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, so just before I open it up to members of council, I just have to make sure we're done with the members of the public audience. So is there anybody else from the?
No, I got some questions.
Okay. So, Mr. Gear, we'll just ask you to take your seat again
Blaine Becky. Can someone just give me some history on how it became EP?
So in 2013, when the official plan for the town was updated, this EP mapping is the first time it appeared. So on the town official plan update in 2013, the zoning bylaw caught it in a 2018 update.
So it was never in conservation before that?
It was not. No, it was mostly rural before those updates.
Okay, I think you should check your record then, because I believe that was put in conservation by Norman Quinville on lot 7, not lot 6, but lot 7 where the creek comes out. The environmental, I didn't see your environmental assessment. Did it include fish spawning grounds, etc.?
No.
It did not. No. That needs to be, I can guarantee you from personal experience as a 10-year-old fishing, it's a fish spawning ground. The official plan, as I understand it, does not permit any building in an environmentally protected area. So, and also the Ottawa River Heritage does not permit any development. So I'm curious to know how that got past the Ottawa River Heritage part of the official plan.
There is a policy in the official plan that that council can consider a rezoning in the environmental protection designation as long as they do an environmental impact study. So we are following the provisions in the official plan that does permit development through a zoning amendment provided to do an EIS.
Has M&R commented on this, and have they done any kind of a study as to what's there? Because they hold true power as far as what's an environmentally protected area, I believe, especially when it comes to a wetland or eventually significant wetlands. There's spawning grounds, anything like that, cold water fisheries, warm water fisheries, all that stuff. So has M&R had a look at this and given their approval?
So M&R is not a prescribed agency. The official plan is in conformity with the provincial policy statement, and the Planning Act doesn't require application sent to each ministry.
Okay. Do they not direct you as to where your environmentally protected areas are? Because I was at the official plan meeting, and I'm pretty sure they do that.
So the official plan, this type of mapping comes from M&R,
Right.
so that is the background to the official plan.
Okay. So they say it's environmentally protected, but the town now is going and against that.
No, so the official plan says that where lands are in environmental protection, council can consider development in an abutting designation provided they do an environmental impact. The official plan policy was approved by the provincial government, and we are following that policy with this amendment.
Okay. I haven't seen the environmental assessment that's here, so I would be able to get a copy of that.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Would you also be able to get back to me then as to the history on that and make sure that through your archives that was not already in conservation beforehand?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Just actually one more thing. We're on this map here because, this green line here, is that not the flood zone that we're not allowed to build in?
So the, darker blue line is the floodway. So, between the darker blue and the teal is the flood fringe where you can build if you do, flood.
You do floodproofing. What floodproofing? Does that mean haul and fill and build it up, or does that mean just in case your foundation?
The applicant would be able to speak to what they're proposing for their building.
Where is the high school located here?
I will get the applicant to point that out.
Actually, I do have one more question. Whenever this was turned into conservation or EP, was that a condition of a different severance?
No, it was done as part of an official plan update, and there was a smaller EP zone following the creek prior to this. You can kind of see at the top left corner.
Because there was a zoning, environment, there was a zoning change up here to allow for residential building lots, and that, what that did was encompass all this, into, during that severance. It made the lot 6 and 7 combined to a regular lot. I'm just wondering if there was any conditions that was, if there was something to be maintained there.
When I look back at the history, it looked more like when we did the official plan update in 2013, that the provincial mapping had been updated because it was all along the river. It wasn't just specific to this. It was much more extensive than this portion.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, would the applicant like to come forward and just answer the two questions? Where's the house going to go and the flood mitigation measures in terms of the building?
So the home is going right in this area here, well behind. So we're building, we've scraped the land and we're building on bedrock, which is about over a meter above the high water mark, which is what we were told we needed to be, our property a meter above. We are not putting a basement in. So we have dug, we are putting in footings. They will be waterproof, and it will be backfilled the 4 feet so that they need frost protection. And then we're going to start with our slab from there. But when we dug out, in some areas we couldn't even go 4 feet because of the bedrock. So there's some areas where we have to do step because of the bedrock. So, yeah. As far as the floodplain, when I bought the property, my understanding was they took a piece of the property, similar to what this gentleman here said, and added it to Todd Kluche's. But it was under the understanding and made very clear, because that now it was 2 lots put into one, that we could not sever off any other properties. It was to stay 1 residential lot, so we couldn't ask for another severance. So that was my understanding when I did my due diligence. So there, I have no intention of building a second property there. We bought it for privacy. So I don't know if I've answered both of those questions.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have any further comments?
I saw some questions, and I'm very, very protective of the land. And there's always been wetlands on that property. I understand that the lines changed after the big flood or whatever. So I understand why there was concerns about us building there. I am building nowhere. There is the wetland to the one side, kind of in this area, and then there's some out front. So we're well back from what's out front. The side, we're well away from that. I mean, we've put up barriers to protect any livestock, fish, whatever. I have not. I mean, we go down there all the time. I've never seen a fish in that creek. It basically dries out 100%, and the wetlands in front of us, they're probably, I would have to guess, we had a lot of rain, so I can't tell, but most time this time of year, it's totally dry. But again, we have no intentions of doing any harm. I mean, I love wildlife, so I would not. I know someone mentioned a concern about cutting trees down. I have over 2,000 of them. I have no intention of clear cutting to the waterfront. I like my privacy. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Okay, thank you. I'll now open it up for questions from members of the council. Councillor Coutu.
Hello. Is the report author here tonight?
No, I hope she was going to be here.
Okay, I'll ask my questions. I'm not sure who will answer them. One question you may be able to answer. On page 18 of the report, there's a picture of limestone retaining walls along the shoreline of the Ottawa River. When were those installed and by whom?
By us, probably, my goodness, I'd have to say, I get definitely before COVID, I'm going to say 7, 8 years ago. I lose my timelines ever since COVID.
Okay, so you have the rock on the shoreline.
Yes. Well, it's not on the shoreline. It's back about 500 feet from the shoreline.
Not of the picture I'm looking at. On page 18 of the report.
I have a photo on my phone right now if you'd like to look at it.
Okay, the rest of the questions, so unfortunately, I wanted to ask, maybe you know, Christy Beattie, she labels herself a biologist. What are her credentials?
I would think that would be in a report.
It's not. That's why I wrote it down to ask her in person. When you hired her, did she review her credentials with you?
I did not hire her. I had someone else hire her.
Okay, that's okay. So the references at the end of the report, unfortunately, were not referenced in the report. So I had to chase down each article in each book and read what it contained. So the first reference was to white-tailed deer habitat and cottage development in central Ontario. So I read on page 605 of this article that the white-tailed deer population in Ontario have experienced drastic population decline, and this is predominantly because of the reduction of environmentally protected areas, because of the type of habitat deer use in the winter specifically. The creation of four-season homes in previously, less populated winter environments quite affects their habitat. So I'd hope to ask Christy Beattie about that further, because that's one of her references. Maybe you can answer this next question. Was the only site visit she conducted on May 3rd, 2024?
She was there in the fall, and she went back multiple times. I can't tell you the exact dates, but she did go to check because she needed the water levels to be high. She needed to make sure that it was like nesting season, all of that. I mean, this came to light last November. I would have liked to have had it all done last November, but she refused to do it until everything was correct.
Okay. So she notes in her report that wildlife assessment was not the primary objective of her survey. And unfortunately, one of our roles here, when we consider changing the zoning of environmentally protected area, is wildlife. So unfortunately, there was a lack, actually an inadequacy of information on wildlife protection and how the construction of a four-season home would affect the habitat and patterns of birds and fish and wildlife. So I'll just share with you a few things that I read again in the references. The appendix of the report that were not referenced in the report, specifically on amphibians. I read something that was relevant to one of the conclusions that the report hoped to draw, which was that the construction of this house would have no impact. And what's important is that it might not be in the wetland, but there are habitat adjacent to wetlands that are significant to amphibians, to reptiles, because they move into these areas to breed, to feed, and then they go back to the wetlands to other things. So these are interrelated, interlocking pieces of ecosystem. So I wanted to ask Christy Beattie how she could suggest that they could be severed from another, and the meadow, for example, could be treated differently than the wetlands, when really it's all part of one ecosystem. But I'm sorry she's not here to answer that question. Maybe you can answer this one though, hold on. The vegetative growth. There's a lack of vegetative growth between the building area and the Ottawa River Marsh shoreline. So I wanted to know about the impact of soil disruption on the water table and water quality.
Okay, there should be no there should be no disruption. I mean, we're looking at building on bedrock over 100 a meter above wetlands. I mean, I'd love to show you this photo if you want to pass it around. It shows how we are about 500 feet away from the water. And quite honestly, we're there a lot. My husband's had a camera there. He checks everybody, the people who walk through, the animals. Probably lots of turkeys. That I can tell you, they're there all the time. The odd bunny, we've seen a couple raccoons. I think for years there, he saw a three-legged wolf, but that wolf has not been around now for about 3 or 4 years. So we have no intention of hurting the environment at all.
Yeah, I had some further questions. I really don't think you'll be able to answer them. Unfortunately, there was a lot of information missing from the report. So since Christy Beatty's not here to speak to it, I'll just save my comments for our meeting.
Further questions from members of council? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So, question for the planner. I believe construction is currently underway on the house.
There's a conditional permit for the footings only.
And this is in the absence of council approval to change the zoning. So I guess my question is, what would happen if council decided that the zoning couldn't be changed?
The footings would be removed and the site remediated at the applicant's expense.
And that's the policy that we're operating under. That's the
For conditional
agreement, like
permit.
the applicant agreed to that.
Yeah.
As part of the conditional approval.
That's
Okay.
Christy is available to answer questions.
I have another question regarding the environmental impact study. This study is bought and paid for by the applicant, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And to Councillor Kutu's comments, it would make the credentials of the author of the study quite important.
Well, we have her on the phone so she can answer questions.
Hey, Christy, you're on,
Just hold on a second. We're not gonna let her talk into the microphone, but if you can ask her through the phone.
I can bring my phone over to whoever.
No, if you can find out from her what her credentials are and then say that to us through the microphone. But while we're waiting for you to do that, we'll, Councillor Carmen, if you have any further questions.
No, that's good.
Are there any other members of council that have questions or comments?
Christy, they're asking what your credentials are. Okay, hold on, because just 1 second, I gotta kind of repeat what you're saying. She's been a biologist for 22 years, doing environmental impacts and statements for 21 years. Sorry, with the next part. An honors degree in biology with a major in ecology. And she's done over 40 of these environmental impact assessments for residential properties.
Okay, thank you. Is that good for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from members of council? I just have one for you, Melanie, and maybe you can answer it, maybe you can't. But if we look back over time at this entire area down there, because there are houses nearby where Ms. Gear is proposing to build her house. At one time, would all of this area have been a similar wetland, environmentally protected area? Before all of these subdivisions and roads and homes went in there?
When I looked back to prior to the 2013 official plan, this whole big wetland area was mostly rural. So it was actually mostly rural, not wetland. It was in the 2013 update where this large wetland was added to the map. So greater than 10 years ago, we wouldn't be having this meeting. A single detached dwelling would have been permitted in the rural zone.
Okay, so there was wetland down there, it just wasn't deemed environmentally protected at that point until 2013.
Yeah, the EP zone was much smaller. It followed the creek that you can kind of see in the top left and followed that through to the river, but the extent of it was much less.
Like I said, that needs to be confirmed.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from members? of council? Okay, then I'll declare this public meeting closed. Thank you, everybody. What do we do now that we're overtime?
Meeting is still going ahead, so we can start the council meeting whenever you're ready.
Everybody need a little
I'm ready. You're good.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the town of Petawawa, regular meeting of council for August 12th, 2024. Welcome to members of council, staff, and lone guests remaining.
Yay!
We'll start the meeting off by the reading of the land acknowledgement, and tonight it will be Councilor Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, as we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Calls to action number 20. In order to address the jurisdictional disputes concerning Aboriginal people who do not reside on reserves, we call upon the federal government to recognize, respect, and address the distinct health needs of the Métis, Inuit, and off-reserve Aboriginal peoples. Recent progress. Through the consultation process, certain partners highlighted the jurisdictional issues perpetuate and worsen the disadvantage experienced by Indigenous people living off reserves, especially regarding access to health programs and services. Partners also emphasize the need for government accountability regarding its responsibilities to non-status and off-reserve populations. The distinct needs of off-reserve Indigenous peoples were further explored with Indigenous partners during the co-development of legislation options. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Roots. And now I'd ask everybody in attendance, if they're able, to please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Moved by Councilor Root, seconded by Councilor Donovan, that the agenda for the August 12th, 2024 regular meeting of council be adopted. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters? Next up, we have some minutes to approve. The council meeting of July 22nd, 2024. I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councilor Driscoll, seconded by Councilor Coutu, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held July 22nd, 2024 be approved as printed and circulated. Any comments, questions on the minutes? And I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we go to bylaws. First up, we have bylaw 1680/24, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a community transportation service sustainability plan agreement with Care for Health and Community Services. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Deputy Mayor Savern, seconded by Councilor Roots, that bylaw 1680/24, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a community transportation service sustainability plan agreement with Care for Health and Community Services, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1680/24, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a community transportation service sustainability plan agreement with Care for Health and Community Services. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1680/24.
I need a motion for a third and final reading of bylaw 1680/24. Moved by Councilor Carmody, seconded by Councilor Driscoll, that bylaw 1680/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? Deputy Mayor Savern.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to say that this two-year agreement is an important leg in the transportation for our low-income senior and population who experience disabilities, and I'm really pleased that we're moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I'll agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's great that we're maintaining this form of transportation for the members that need it in our community for the next 2 years at least. I understand it's very well used, so that's great to see. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168024, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a community transportation service sustainability plan agreement with Care for Health and Community Services. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 168024, this 12th day of August, 2024.
Next up, we have bylaw 1681/24, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 1548/22, being a bylaw to require an applicant to consult with the municipality prior to making an application under the Planning Act. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1681/24, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 1548/22, being a bylaw to require an applicant to consult with the municipality prior to making an application under the Planning Act, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168124, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 154822, being a bylaw to require an applicant to consult with the municipality prior to making an application under the Planning Act. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 168124.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1681/24. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that bylaw 1681/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Any questions or comments on the bylaw? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168124, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 154822, being a bylaw to require an applicant to consult with the municipality prior to making an application under the Planning Act. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 168124, this 12th day of August, 2024.
Just for the information of those in the audience or at home, this came from Bill 185, and it removed council's ability to impose mandatory pre-consultation prior to submission of development applications. So this came about because of provincial, it came from the province. We were forced to do it. Next, we have bylaw 1682/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1682/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168224, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 168224.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1682/24. Moved by Councillor Pugh, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1682/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions, comments on the bylaw? So this is concerning the first public meeting we had this evening with the commercial property being severed from the residential. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168224, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 168224, this 12th day of August, 2024.
Next, we have bylaw 1683/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. I need a motion for first and second reading. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that bylaw 1683/24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 456/07 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended, be read a first and second time. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? I guess I have to break the tie. I'll go in favor. So it's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1683-24, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes first and second reading of bylaw 1683-24.
I need a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 1683/24. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that bylaw 1683/24 be read a third and final time and passed. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, members of council? Councillor, yourself.
Thank you, Mayor Service. To say, looking at Petawawa's official plan, section 9.9 sub 3, we as a council can consider rezoning this environmentally protected area, but only after we take into account a range of things, and it includes the impact on the wildlife habitat, as well as the impact on the water systems, including water quality. So we're asked to ensure, before we make our vote, that no adverse impact will result. And it's unfortunate that the report we had tonight was inadequate. It didn't cover anything like the water quality, the water table, what the impact on the different wildlife habitat would be. Even in the report is explicit. It said that was not part of the survey, and the survey instead focused on flood proofing, but that's not the whole of what we're asked to do. We're asked to protect the natural heritage of Petawawa for current and future generations. So unfortunately, we don't have the information we would need to be sure that the applicant could build this home without disturbing these ecologically sensitive and irreplaceable pieces of habitat. So I believe that we open ourselves up to appeal if we make this decision based on an inadequate report.
Councillor Kearney?
Thank you, Mayor Service. Just a couple of concerns that I have. Certainly one thing that I noticed, the intentions of the current owner are really irrelevant to me because the current owner could be the former owner tomorrow. So that really has no bearing on my thinking. And as I mentioned, if the environmental impact study is commissioned and paid for by the applicant, there are obvious problems with that. I don't need to get into detail as to what those problems would be. And the fact that we've pre-authorized construction prior to making a decision on changing the zoning sort of implies that, well, council will be okay with it. We're going to be good with it. When in fact, we may not be. So I'm thinking this is an us problem. It's a procedure problem. I don't think we should be doing that at all, because it puts us in a very awkward position. I'm sure the applicant would have every right to come back and say, oh, I was under the impression that all was good. Otherwise, why would you have pre-authorized me to do this? So my thoughts on.
Just before I go to Deputy Mayor Sabrin, perhaps in light of your comment about the pre-authorization, and I just asked Melanie to come to the microphone and just for clarity's sake for us and for anybody watching, how that pre-approval process takes place.
So it's done through the building department, the chief building official. But from my understanding of it is the risk is entirely with the applicant. We did discuss in this case, this particular situation. When we issue a conditional permit, it is only for a very limited scope. It's entirely at the risk, but I hear Councillor Carney's concern.
And just to address Councillor Carney's first comment about the applicant being the one that hired the environmental assessment, is that not the case with every subdivision, every environmental assessment? It's always the developer or the owner that is tasked to go out and hire these companies.
That is correct. It's always the onus, the expense of the applicant to provide these studies, but council can definitely request that they be peer reviewed. so that there's an independent review of this study if they're concerned with the content.
And at whose expense would this peer review be done?
As the developer, as the applicant.
Is that a common occurrence or?
It's a common occurrence for larger applications, like if you're, for new aggregate pits, subdivisions, things like that. But it is still within your right to request for any development application.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addition to what Councillors Katu and Carmody stated, despite the intentions of the owner, my question is, how do we ensure that those intentions are in fact carried out as a matter of condition? And I think that that's a condition that we set on title, or something to that effect. We could ensure that no trees were cut, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I think that they're building on bedrock, and that seems like an extraordinarily sturdy and without erosion. I share Lisa's points that she brought up earlier. And I guess just to the final point of, and I know you said that we sent out a notice of public meeting. The fact that a couple of people have been identified as perhaps not receiving them, I think it's incumbent upon us to just check that out. Sometimes mail gets lost, that kind of thing. I don't doubt that we followed what we needed to do. But again, I would just rather be safe than sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So just in terms of Deputy Mayor Saverin's comments about restrictions in the future on trees and any other disturbance like that, and just for my understanding, it's my understanding that the amendment zone is only the yellow zone, which means anything outside of that, which is still environmentally protected. That means there can be no development, no disturbance, no cutting of trees, or anything outside of this yellow amendment zone.
That's correct. And there will also be a development agreement entered into between the town and the applicant to capture things like no more cutting of vegetation between the building and the river, the use of geotextile, and basically those recommendations for erosion and sedimentation in the report. And that development agreement runs with the land, so it will apply to the next one as well.
And just to further on that comment, I noticed in the picture we were showing that there was, I'll call it turtle fencing. But even for the pre-approved footing construction, that there was turtle fencing and environmental protection in place.
Right, the geotextile was required to prevent sedimentation getting into the river.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go back to Councillor Kadu.
Just one last comment. I want to note that the applicant can still build on her property. There's a portion that's zoned rural where they could build. And so they're not losing any options, whereas we would be losing a piece of natural heritage and something irreplaceable. That's the comment. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay. Did I already get a motion? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Those opposed? I'll break the tie by voting in favor. So the motion is carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 168324, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45607 of the Corporation of the Town of Petawawa as amended. This constitutes third and final reading of bylaw 168324, this 12th day of August 2024.
There's no correspondence, so next we'll go to minutes. First up, we have the Festival Hall Committee meeting minutes of May 31st, 2024. I need a motion to accept those minutes. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the minutes of the Festival Hall Committee meeting held on May 31st, 2024 be adopted as information. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I talked to most of these minutes previously. Something I just want to bring attention to again to our viewers and to council under 5C under new business opportunities. So as I mentioned, our screen is ready to go. We are planning to move forward with our first event in October. There is some advertising opportunities for businesses and residents, and if you're planning an event and you want to put anything on our screen, where we have options where you can look at it, advertising by the month, by the year, by a term. It can also be a video ad as well. The rates are very good. They can be discussed with the festival hall manager at festivalhall.ca. Some opportunities. We have more than 22,000 people that go through Festival Hall every year, so it's a real good opportunity. And for businesses and corporations, again, residents, municipalities, anyone wanting to rent the screen, we have a fee of $150 for the day. Again, very, very cost-effective rate. And there's some opportunities there for the local community. And we're getting very excited. We've been working hard to put this all together. And like I said, we're hoping in mid-October to bring some good entertainment to the whole entire area. Thank you.
Always exciting things going on at Festival Hall.
Yes, and I will take any questions if anyone has anything.
Any questions for Councillor Root? Having seen none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next up, we have minutes from the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting of July 2nd, 2024. I need a motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Roots, that the minutes of the Petawawa Business. Let's backtrack. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabry, that the minutes of the Petawawa Business Advisory Network meeting held on July 2nd, 2024 be adopted as information. And who's speaking? Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything's laid out pretty good, and I did touch on pretty well everything in my last councillor report. If anyone else does have any questions, they can feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.
Any questions on the minutes? On the meeting? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next up, we have staff reports. Staff report PL-24-2024, the official plan update has been approved by Renfrew County. And Melanie's going to come forward and provide us with an overview of this report. You're on the mic again, Melanie. You're busy this evening.
It's been a hot night. Just a quick report to let you know the good news that the County of Renfrew did approve our official plan on August 1st with very minor modifications. We did have a chance to discuss these modifications with the county before they issued them, which was great. In my report, I highlighted the two biggest ones. Mainly, we were missing a policy for additional residential units on private services, so we've adopted the policies under the county official plan. We are doing our own internal additional residential unit municipal scan and seeing what everybody's doing with these across the province. But until we finish our own assessment and determine what policies and zoning provisions we're going to use, we have the county ones to use. And the second most significant change was just the commercial and industrial designation policies were embedded inside the settlement area policies. We do have a few lands, the industrial park is an example, that are not within the settlement area boundary. So we just added statements that those policies apply to lands also outside of the settlement boundary. The rest of the changes, you have the modifications in your package, were fairly editorial and minor in nature, but happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Melanie. It's exciting to see that our official plan is, slowly moving forward and meeting with everybody's agreement. Questions, comments on the report? Okay, having seen none, the report is for information purposes only. Do we have a timetable as to what the next steps are?
There is a 20-day appeal period, so August 21st. Next week, we'll see if the clerk of the County of Renfrew has received any appeals. If there's no appeals, then it's in effect. If there are appeals, generally it's in effect except for the portion being appealed. So we're very close to it being.
It's been a long journey and a lot of work.
I'm only here for the tail end of it.
You're getting all the acronyms.
I did attend meetings as a resident.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Okay, next we'll go to councillor reports. Councillor Kerman. Oops. Oh, you thought
Because we thought Teresa was not gonna be here.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Why, thank you, Mr.
You are
Mayor.
here.
I am here and honored to tell you about my July, which I did not report on in July. Thank you so much. So it just takes back to a very warm day on July the 1st. I was in attendance at the event at the Civic Center, and it was absolutely well done and lots for everybody to do. On the 22nd of July, I had a one-on-one meeting with the consultants who were hired to do the strategic plan update for the Petawawa Public Library. So I appreciated that concession made for me. I was unavailable the other dates. On August the 8th, I represented yourself, Mr. Mayor, at the Dairy Queen for their 10th anniversary celebration, coincidental with Miracle Day with the blizzards, and enjoyed a blizzard and presented the certificate to the owner, Thomas, and to Chris, the manager. And so that was really a privilege for me. And I'd also just like to advise the public of an event that's coming up on the 7th of September. You have received an email from Acting Fire Chief Craig Prue with respect to the Emergency and Protective Services Unite event that will be held at Petawawa Civic Center from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where there's friendly competition amongst various departments made up of teams, including fire services, law enforcement, and paramedics in friendly competitions with a lot of activities for kids and different kinds of things like that. So it'll be unveiled to the public, but I just thought I'd give us all a little bit of a teaser. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sanford, and thanks for representing me at Dairy Queen. I hope I didn't miss out on free Sunday. Okay. And sorry, I skipped over you. I was going by the script. Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Not much to report. A couple of meetings regarding the library for the development of our strategic plan, and a few special meetings pertaining to getting the library painted. But other than that, not a whole lot.
Thank you. Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was at those meetings with James from the library business, and there's a lot going on. Hopefully you have some nice looking walls soon, but I also had the chance to check out some water and dirt activities, specifically something I've been hoping to look at, which was the doggy paddle event. So the sight of those dogs coming into shore on the canoes, on the paddles, it was a great event. It was great to see Independent there sponsoring the event, and the SPCA, I'm sure, made a ton of donations. So I want to give a huge shout out to Colin and to his huge staff there, and to Mary, and to everyone who's down at Community Services making this Water and Dirt Festival such an amazing event. So I'm looking forward to the rest of it because it's still ongoing. So I hope to see you at the paddles. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On June 25th, or July 25th, sorry, I attended the grand opening of the Food Basics. Great to see another large business development opened. July 28th, I attended a Algonquin Greater Golden Lake community meeting. On August 6th, I attended a P-band meeting. We discussed a few new grant opportunities. The Upper Ottawa Valley Business Excellence Award nominations are open, so make sure to nominate your favorite businesses. At the Container Market, Christmas in July was a resounding success and had a great turnout. Was presented with the results from the town branding survey at the meeting. There will be more to follow with that and ongoing. Conversation Boardwalk is complete, and there will be opportunities to sponsor boards or have your name or dedication enshrined in the town's newest owned building. And we discussed the water and dirt and expecting a great event. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two events in the last half of July, the 25th being the opening of Food Basics. It's good to see everybody out for that. Very exciting for the town of Petawawa. And on the 30th of July, I sat in on the RFP for the website opening up the competition. That would be it.
Thank you. Councillor Roos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the Food Basics grand opening, and I wish them all the best of success in our town. Other than that, all committees have been taking a bit of a break in the summer, and everything's starting to ramp back up here in the month of August. Thank you.
Thank you. And CAO Randolph will be very pleased with my report.
Is it short?
Because I was on vacation out in Victoria when But I did also attend the ribbon cutting at Food Basics, and apparently, according to the upper management of Metro, it was their biggest grand opening ever in terms of people gathering out in front of the store. So our community was very excited to have this business come and open, and as Councillor Root said, we wish them all the best here in Petawawa. We're happy to have them. And on August the 2nd, I was up in Deep River for the groundbreaking for the new Deep River District Hospital Long-Term Care Home, attended by the Minister of Long-Term Care. And they had a live band, and it was quite an event and very exciting for the town of Deep River. But also, we know that some of our residents here in Petawawa will make use of that facility once it's open. And also a lot of the employees, up to 200 of them who are going to work in that facility. We know that many of them will live here in our town of Petawawa. So it's an exciting thing for everybody, not just Deep River. And that is my report. Wow. I think I just broke a record.
You did.
I need a motion for a confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Roots, that bylaw 1684/24 be read a first, second, and third time and passed. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.
Corporation of the Town of Petawawa, bylaw 1684/24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on August the 12th, 2024. This constitutes first, second, and third reading, short of bylaw 1684/24, this 12th day of August, 2024.
I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Driscoll, that the meeting adjourns for the call of the mayor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried.